Welcome, geeks, to another exciting episode of Rockin The Code World with dotNetDave. I'm David McCarter. I'm glad you're back. We were off for a couple weeks because I was supposed to be in Australia, but that fell through. So we're back, and we got some great shows coming up soon. And it's summertime here in San Diego. It's nice and warm and bright and cool beach weather. The gloominess of June is gone, and it's great. It's a great time to be in San Diego if you ever come here. And you see my backdrop there. I'm pre-celebrating July 4th. You all know, at least in America, that our Independence Day is on Monday, July 4th. And that's when we go and do barbecues, celebrate the independence of America. So that's why I have that backdrop today. So anyway, I'm so excited about this show. I have David Shepard on from the University in Richmond, Virginia, and he's going to talk about his program and band camp called Code Beats. And I've been really excited about this show because I can talk for a whole hour about music and not feel bad. So I'm really excited. You all know, I've been a musician. I do photography for big rock bands, and I also have won some awards from that work. And so, music has been a huge part of my life ever since I was a little kid, doing air guitar for my brother, jumping up and down in the bed like I was playing at a concert with a band. I used a tennis racket as my air guitar kind of, and I would lip sync songs to my brother. So anyway, I'm super excited about this show. So let's get it going. I want to, we're entering the 5th month of the ordeal in the Ukraine. So I want to again take a couple minutes out and think about my friends in the Ukraine. And seeing this beautiful country that I've visited get destroyed is just awful. And unfortunately, the craziness in America has pushed the news of the Ukraine kind of off the news cycle for the most part. But I just wanted to make sure that we all think about what's going on there and do anything you can to help their cause. And because, I want to go back someday before I retire and speak there, or maybe after I retire, I can speak there. But ever since I visited the Ukraine, I've been dying to go back. And so, unfortunately, that's probably not going to be for a while now. So anyway, and also I forgot to mention at the top that, our fearless leader, CSharpCorner, Mahesh, has got COVID. He came to San Diego last Friday, and a couple of days later, actually, after I saw him, he came down with COVID. So he's unfortunately been locked in his hotel room, which really sucks. His whole family is here and he's been locked in his hotel room. So I heard he might drop in later on the show at the end. We'll see, but just give a shout out, give your well wishes to Mahesh. I talked to him this morning. He's gone 24 hours without a fever. So that's good news. I have a new article out on CSharpCorner. This article was actually requested by one of my followers. Every once in a while I'll ask, on Twitter, what do you want me to write about? And one of my followers said, career. So I took a section out of my Rock Your Career, Surviving the Technical Interview book, and updated it and came out with this article called Prepare Some More for Your Next Technical Interview. And the reason I picked this subject was because this is the number one thing I see developers not doing before they come interview in front of me, is they don't prepare. There's lots of stuff that's in this article and in my book that shows you how you should properly prepare before you come in for the technical interview by somebody like me and or somebody else at a company. So I hope you check out the article. I really enjoyed updating it and getting some input from other people that I know. And my friend Mark Davis helped me with some of it too. So, and Mark Davis is the lead guitar player on the video at the top of the show. So that's who he is. So anyway, I hope you can check it out. All right, with that, I'd like to bring on David Shepard. is an associate professor in the Department of Computer Science at Virginia Commonwealth University. He earned his Ph.D. and MS in computer science at the University of Delaware. Woohoo! That's where I was born. And his BS in computer science at Virginia Commonwealth University. David has since worked as a postdoctoral fellow in the Department of Computer Science at the University of British Columbia, built Suite Equity as employee number 9 at Tasktop Technologies, and is risen to senior principal scientist at ABB Corporate Research. His research has produced tools that have been used by thousands, innovations that have been featured in popular press, and research that's received over $1.5 million in funding in the U.S. from a NSF. So welcome, David.
Thank you very much. Really happy to be here. I too love coding and music, so I think we're going to have a good time here today.
Yeah. And your bio is very impressive. All I've done was teach at a university for 18 years, and but your background is very impressive. So welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Doing great today. It's a holiday weekend around here, so about to go get ready to enjoy some barbecues and things like that. But happy to come talk about music and coding first.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that on the holiday weekend. A lot of people don't like to do much of anything except for party and have fun on the holiday weekend. So hang out the beach like they do here. Actually in San Diego, I avoid the beaches at these times because, it's totally insane crowds and parking problems. And so I can kind of watch the fireworks from just going up the street a little bit because it overlooks the fairgrounds, and they always have fireworks there at the fairgrounds, which is right near me. So
wow, you're right in the heart of San Diego. Yeah. Good for you.
Well, I'm a little bit north. Del Mar is a little bit north of San Diego, and it's about it's about 20 minutes from the airport if you don't have any traffic. So it's a little bit north, but I like it up here, and it's very quiet and nice, and not a lot of crime. And so, anyway, getting off topic now. We're supposed to be talking about music, so let's talk about Code Beats. So what explain to everybody what Code Beats is, and maybe how you came up with it, and how it's going now.
Yeah, so Code Beats is just kind of the way I wanted to learn programming when I was a young person wanting to do programming. I just didn't know that it was possible. So it's just a way to learn programming, and instead of your output being something boring like sorting list or I don't know,
calculator.
Calculator, whatever the lame kind of projects you do, early on, the output is a beat, and like a hip hop beat in this case. Right. So, it's just like the output is fun and something people like to make, and something I personally wanted to get better at making, because I'm into music too. And so, it's just a different approach to learning to program. That's not super lame.
That's fun, right? Because, learning to program can be very challenging and can be very boring. And that's why, I was this morning when I was thinking about, getting ready for the show, I was thinking about I've said this a few times on my show that my acupuncturist son, who is now 9, has been programming for at least 2 years now.
Yep.
And he's learning stuff like Unity, and he's learning stuff I don't want to learn, and because I feel it's too challenging, and I've gave him a bunch of swag from CSharpCorner and my website, and to try to encourage him. I got to meet him once, and so some kids, like him, he's interested in games because games are fun, and he plays games, and so he's written his own games already, and at 9 years old, at 9 years old, I was playing in the mud with Tonka trucks, and I wasn't doing stuff like this, and he can't get enough. He keeps begging his mom all the time for more training from, she hires these tutors, and he wants more and more of it. I'm going,
yeah,
I can't wait to see what this guy does when he's older.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna have a startup by the time he's 15.
I know.
Yeah, that's the thing, that the kids are learning a lot younger these days. I don't know. Have you ever heard of like MIT Scratch? Do you know that program?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so this is a big one that young kids learn on, and this is like it's a block-based programming language. So you know how you can kind of drag the blocks in there, they snap together, kind of like
Yeah, yeah,
Legos.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like the Lego programming stuff, kind of.
yeah, it's a lot like Lego Mindstorms.
Mindstorm. Yeah.
Yep. And so scratch.mit.edu, that's a great program for kids learning to program. And so I used to do these like inner city camps back in Raleigh, North Carolina, when I lived there. And we used to use Scratch a lot. But if you can imagine, like the main point of Scratch is to like create little characters and get these characters to move around the screen. The main character in Scratch is like this little orange cat. And you can imagine me like, kind of in their eyes, kind of this cheesy white guy from the suburbs trying to teach these inner city kids the code. And then I start asking them like, hey, do you want to like move this cat around the screen? It wasn't super compelling to these kids.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the impetuses to try and start doing it with music. But it's kind of like we started trying to use music inside of Scratch. But again, for those of you that have used Scratch, it's not built for music, right? So like we could do some basic things, but as soon as you try to do something a little bit more complicated, it would just like it would get out of sync. And so your one instrument will be playing right on the beat, the other one will be playing slightly off the beat.
Can't have that.
Yeah, it was like for a musician, it would make you crazy, right?
Yeah. It definitely make me crazy. Yeah, that happened.
Yeah,
when things are out of tune makes me crazy too.
Yeah, so you made your intro song, I guess. That was like
I wrote the song, and then I got my I actually wrote it when I was sick, so it's not super complicated. I tried to make something like a simple AC/DC song, but yeah, I wrote it, and then I got my friends to play on it, and I mixed it, which I'm not a very good mixer, and that's the song. So the lead guitar. Go ahead.
Good. It sounded pretty good to me.
Yeah, thanks. And then we all recorded our little video parts, and I put them all together, and Mark, the lead guitarist for that, he's told me recently he wants to redo it, so maybe we will. I don't know. It's depends on timing, and
Yeah. Maybe after this episode you can do it in TunePad, which is what a program I'll tell you about in a little while.
Yeah, you can tune my song in the TunePad, and I don't remember the chord progressions now, but anyway.
Don't worry, I have all these music majors that I work with here at university, and these guys, you throw any song at them, they just listen to it, and then they start coding away. They've all become programmers. All these music majors become programmers because, like, they know the music end. I'm okay at music, but those guys are really good at music.
Yeah.
And so these music majors, I give them this program. They get the music, listen to it, and then they start coding it into TunePad, and they translate, what they hear into code.
Yeah. I'm not that talented,
Yeah, me either. It would take me like a month, and I had one student who I gave him like 15 songs just like a week ago, and he's only working part-time, and then like yesterday he's like, hey man, I'm almost done with these songs, like I need another batch. Jeez,
15 songs already?
Yeah, and they're like, dang. They usually have I don't know how familiar you are with rap songs, but they sound simple often, but when you get down to the rhythms and all the hi-hats and all the extra stuff, that percussion they put in, I mean, it's probably like 10 to 15 tracks on average, right? So it's not like just one track. It's like 15 tracks.
Yeah. Well, that's the great thing with modern recording software is there's no track limit, really. It's, the track limit is your memory, right? On the computer, and that's pretty cool, because I have some pretty complicated recordings that I've done, and I really like doing it in software because it's so much easier,
Oh yeah.
And I was recently in March. I went to Oregon. I visited this guitar. I used to work for the #1 heavy metal band here back in San Diego back in the 80s, and guitarists from that band moved up to Coos Bay, Oregon, and I spent 5 or 6 days up there. And he partnered with some multimillionaire guy that lives up there, and who's also a musician, and they built the first recording studio in Coos Bay. And I got to go in it a couple of times and play around with the gear and things like that. And and they built it like it's serious, right? They're double walls, double pane glass. I went into the sound booth, for vocals, and I've never been in a room that dampening, right, to sound that doesn't go anywhere, because there's so much padding and whatever else they put in those rooms, right? And that was fun. I've been in recording studios before, but nothing as and that was back in the 80s, so there wasn't computer like they are now, and he runs everything through his Mac tower computer, and yeah.
Oh yeah, we had. I was working with the church with their sound system the other month, and they had all these crazy decks of stuff, and they were basically replacing a room's worth of equipment with like a computer. So audio has definitely like shrunk down. Quite a bit.
Even ever since the late 90s, my amplifier of choice has been from this company called Line 6. And Line 6, they might have been the first company that started modeling amplifiers and effects, so they can put it in software. And now, I have this unit now called the Helix, which I call my guitar processor spaceship, because it does so much, and I mean, it's endless of what you can do with this, right? With software and all that. And I can do, I can set up, the routing of the sound that you can't do in the physical world, right? And so that creates some really interesting challenges. And even my new guitar is also from Line 6, can also play two guitars at the same time. So like when I played the intro to one of my favorite bands, the cult, Seashell Sanctuary, right? The way that Billy recorded that back in the 80s was he used guitars, he used the sitar, he used some backwards backwards tracking of the songs, and I basically mimicked that in this unit. I'm playing a guitar and a sitar at the same time, and I'm not only to have delays and all that, delays and flange and everything on it, but I also have the backwards delay on it too. So as much as I can, make it like he did with multiple tracks, I can do at one time with software. And that's, not only is my, amplifier is all software driven, but so is my guitar, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's amazing, the replacement of all this hardware with software. It's really just revolutionizing music. I even have I can't remember what it's called, but basically a pad that has, almost like a keyboard, but for music, it has all these different buttons. You can map them to different instruments, to different drums, instantly. And basically you have like the ability to record almost any instrument, right there on your computer desktop, and they sound pretty darn good. But back to the programming bit, I want to, one thing that has really changed, like kind of along the lines of this software coming along, there's been kind of an explosion, I would say, of software where you can write code that makes music lately. So have you ever heard of Sonic Pi?
No, I have not.
Okay, so Sonic Pi is this program created by this guy called Sam Aaron. So it's Sonic Pi, kind of like Raspberry Pi. And it was originally created for the Raspberry Pi. And he is part of this kind of movement that's kind of live coding. So he does concerts where he like writes code live, and it's like looping, and then he changes it live. And it's like, I mean, it basically sounds like a DJ, right? So Sonic Pi is a great tool, and that's actually what we started off with Code Beats. We started using Sonic Pi, and we use that for kind of our first code camp. Another great piece of software, if you're into this kind of stuff, is called EarSketch, and that's earsketch.com. I think you can visit it there. And EarSketch is a lot like the program that I use, which is called TunePad. And what it is it's a coding environment that's right there in the browser. You can mix different samples, create different drum patterns, all kinds of stuff. Again, right there in the browser, and then it will play out to you at near professional quality. I mean, it's really good quality. The guys behind that in particular are really into music, right? So the output is good.
That's cool. So before I think we go too much further, do you want to kind of show what the kids do with code beats?
Yeah, sure.
I thought it'd be interesting.
I do have an example right up here. So here's kind of what a typical TunePad, example activity looks like, right? So this is Kendrick Lamar's Humble. I'm going to just play it real quick. Can y'all hear that?
Yeah, we can. Sounds good, actually.
Yeah, so that's code that's making that. So like here you can see a visual representation of like the bass, the kick, the snare, the closed hats, etc., open hats. But that's not made by that. That's actually made by these tracks down here, which is like the code. Like if I were to just play this is the bass. And you can see, very simple code. Play note, E flat for this long. Play note, E flat for this long. You can imagine how that's making the track. And you could play different tracks like the kick. Let's find one that's kind of interesting. This looks like the hats. That's always a good one.
Oh, using a for loop. Yeah.
Yeah, so for loops, some rest. And what you quickly begin to see is like, hey, a lot of these concepts in music, like looping, like, measures and looping, like map really naturally to, computer programming, right? Like you have a loop, a nested loop, which seems like a complicated thing when you're just looking at it from a coding point of view. But when you're looking at it from a music point of view, it begins to feel a little more natural, and certainly looping just like with the regular loops feels really natural when you're doing it in music, right?
And this is all Python, right?
Yeah, so this is all Python. It's basically like a Python notebook, if you're familiar with that way of coding. It's similar to that. And each of these tracks contribute to the overall piece, which you
the main track.
Here. Yeah. And again, that sounds like this. Now, the cool thing is like we don't expect people to like just show up and be like, hey, I'm ready to go. I totally know how to code. So we want them to be able to work with like real songs, like from the get-go. So here's what we would do. Like this is one of the first activities they do. So Humble, Kendrick Lamar's Humble, which is a great song. But it turns out it's like a pretty simple song melodically. It only has essentially one chord, right? So if you write a melody over it that matches that chord, basically you're good to go. You don't have to worry about changing chords, And so all we ask them to do is, go down here, and we have all these directions for them, and we would explain that in class. But basically, we're just asking them to do things like write a melody over top, like play note and these are the kind of notes in the melody that we would recommend that they play. And so they'd play a few things like this, and they would very quickly create a melody over top of that existing beat. And so, with like, I'll create one. All right. So here's play note 71. Again, I'm just using things that are right up here because I know those are going to sound good. And, I'll just do a very simple one. I'm going to make it 1 bar long. I'm just going to play these 2 notes. I mean, it's not going to be a great melody, but let's just, so the melody sounds like that. And then you can hear your masterpiece over the whole track.
That's pretty cool.
So the thing is, you're always like working with real music, but the part you're doing isn't that hard, right? Like this isn't that hard, even for beginners. Like play note, 4 notes, no big deal, right?
Right.
And each day we have like, we build it up in class. Like each day it gets a little bit harder. They're doing loops, they're doing harder things, but it's always, we have all these supporting tracks. You just do this part, and they learn the concept. It doesn't blow their minds. By the end of the week, they're able to write like legit beats, though. That's the thing. Like, so I'm going to play just a couple of seconds of this song.
Yeah, I heard this morning. Yeah.
Yeah, this whole album was created by students. Okay, these are beats. We just recorded what the students had made. So, for instance, here's a beat that one of the students had made with their code after only 10 classes.
Code beat.
Of course, the rapper over top is not.
Yeah. Welcome everybody. Please take your seats. We're at the corner where music and technology meet. Computer coding and introduction.
Play a few more seconds,
by
but you
working
can get the
on
idea.
musical production. Like a stove, turn the heat up. Write the code.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, and that was a student,
Yeah,
like 10 classes.
And your students are what age range?
Middle schoolers.
Middle schoolers, yeah.
Yeah, so that student was, I believe, an 8th grader when they took it. But, in general, they've been as young as like incoming 6th graders to 8th graders. That's been the age range we mainly stuck to. And by the end of the week, they're able to make their own beat. And in some cases, they sound really good.
Yeah, it does. It sounds really good. And so do you teach this? Well, you teach this in classes and you teach it in the Beats camp, the Code Beats camp also?
Yeah.
So those two separate things can.
Yeah, I can clarify that a little bit.
Yeah.
So we started out doing this during COVID. So we had these online camps. And so that was kind of the main place we started, just doing online camps. But just this year, we've finally been able to do in-person camps, summer camps, right 100 yards behind me in the computer labs here at VCU. We've had, kids coming in person, and we have like big speakers. You can check it out. We got lots of big speakers.
Yeah, I saw a picture with you carrying it on your shoulder or something like that.
Yeah, so we bring big speakers. We play real music. We got actually the musician guy is a trumpet player, so he plays live music. And we've been doing that in the summer. And then this coming fall, we're actually going to make a real course out of it, a university level course. It's going to be 200 university students, freshmen, coming into like an auditorium style class, and we're all going to be making beats. It's gonna be fun.
That'd be awesome. I hope you film some of that. I think it'd be great to see what's happening inside of these classes. Maybe, that's, I was, when I was thinking about this morning, I was going, I wish, if this was around when I was in middle school, I would have been there like that, right? Because if it has to do with music, I'm doing it.
I know, exactly. Yeah. And imagine, like, that's exactly me, right? Like, I was in, school, in high school, I was doing band, all the bands I could be in,
Yeah.
And just because it was super fun. And if there had been something that was banned with computers, I definitely would have done that.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like a good enough musician to go and try and do that for a living. And I knew that at least. So I was like, all right, I got to do this computer thing. But if it had been both at the same time, I mean, man, how much better would I be at computers?
I know. Yeah. Well, like when I started, learning music in, I think it was the 4th grade. I started off as a drummer.
Yeah. And
so that's what I did, in 4th, 5th, 6th grade. I even played drums in the Navy when I was in the Navy.
Cool.
And then in 82, I switched over to guitar, and I've been playing guitar ever since. And so there's a big, long story with that, but that's not why we're here. So, but
as a drummer, though, I mean, I think you have a really good insight into like how mathematical, this whole thing is. Because, when we're trying to explain to people like hi-hats in particular, right? Like hi-hats is always like,
right.
We have to explain, okay, if you want them to go faster, they're like half a beat. You want them to be half a beat long. If you want them to go even faster, a quarter of a beat, 0.25 long. And if you want to go even faster, 0.125. And then there's this whole genre of rap called trap. And, which I'm not personally as familiar with, but it is a whole genre. And one of the things my musician friend tells me is they use really crazy hi-hats, and they do not only really fast hi-hats, but they do a lot of combinations of triplets and then like regular straight hi-hats. And so it's, you know, you have to teach them about, all right, well, how are we going to do a triplet without screwing up our math?
Right.
You know, because if you start thinking about floating point numbers and things like that, you can very easily get just a little bit off. And after a few measures, things start sounding really weird, you know?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of math really behind the scenes here on the rhythmic part.
Yeah. And me, the way I, you know, when I'm thinking of new songs to write and things like that, you know, I usually come up with like the chord progression that I like, but then I have to go figure out a drum track that I like, right? Because I'm one of those people that feed off the drum rhythm, right? And maybe that's because I was a drummer in the beginning, but I really need that to help me with a song. Is I need a really good drum beat, and I've never, you know, I use Logic Pro and GarageBand, and I've never really liked using those. And so when I was up at my friend's recording studio, what he uses in his studio is a program called Easy Drummer. So I bought that, and I'm trying to learn it now, so I can come up with really good drum, you know, tracks, and then, you know, work on the song on top of that, right? So everybody's different, right? It's how people start out and come up. But usually, I think most songs, you got to lay, to me, unless you're using a metronome, you got to lay down a drum track to keep, you know, to know what you're doing first, right?
Oh yeah. And that's one of the concepts that maps really naturally to between music and computer science. So the concept you're essentially talking about is what I would call modularity. So each track, you know, just like each track you saw had a code related to the bass, code related to the hi-hat. So that's basically like almost like classes, you know, when we're writing code.
Right.
And so the whole beat is like super complicated. If you put all 15 tracks in one place, you know, it's like a few hundred lines of code. But if you look at each track individually, it's only like, you know, 10 to 15 lines of code. And it's very easy to understand. And so this whole concept of modularity is like super easy to teach in music, because it's like, each track is like its own thing, and they're like, and they all run together in parallel. And so parallelism becomes easy too. And these things that were like really complicated to teach formally in class, you know, are like super trivial. They're like, oh, runs in parallel, you mean at the same time? Okay, I get it.
Yeah. Async programming, right?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, when they get all like, you know, complete async, when they're like unrelated when they start, and it sounds awful, like they get that, like that's bad.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you know, and I do this sometimes too, is where I do too much, right? And then I have to start taking stuff out, going, okay, yeah, I went way too far. I got to start going a little more basic, you know, get it back to where I really want. And so, yeah, I could see how, you know, doing that, especially when you're working with, you know, especially something like rhythm, you can have a lot of tracks just for the rhythm part, right? And getting all those to mesh well together and sound well together, and it's not an easy thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of, so one of the key aspects I think that we've taken, or one of the key design decisions we've taken with Code Beats, is that the music is just as important as the code. So, you know, like I'm the code teacher. Well, actually my PhD student, Douglas Krug, he's the main code teacher. He's from Brazil, and he's amazing. And then there's a music teacher, Taylor Barnett, and he is, you know, as involved as we are in this course. It's not like there's just a little music on the side. It's like, no, you know, he teaches you about how to build up a rhythm section, how to line up the kicks with the snares, and how to emphasize, like, you know, how to line up the bass with the kicks, so that like you're emphasizing certain beats and stuff. And if you, you know, some of the kids are not as good at music, and so maybe they don't get quite as far in that aspect of it. But the kids that hear and appreciate the music end of it, like by the end of the 10 sessions, like they've definitely learned how to make a better song, you know?
Yeah. Even if you're not into music, you can still do it, right? Just by learning the coding, and at least learning what the notes mean, and, you know, E flat, you know, D sharp, things like that, right? And it's a so how many So how many, I know you haven't been doing this super long, but for example, like how big are the camps? How big are these classes? You know, how many kids come?
Yeah, so for the online camps, we could do a bunch. Like, so
Yeah.
last year we worked with Chesapeake County Schools, which is right out here in Virginia. And I don't know, we had like 100, 150, you know, in a session. So that was great, you know, because you could, but it was online and you know, there's limited interaction there. And we know with COVID how virtual school is like not quite as cool as in person.
Yeah.
And with music, even more so, right? So we're starting this summer to do the in-person classes, and they're like 25 to 30 per class because, you know, we want to be able to like give people kind of targeted instruction. So that's kind of the size we're doing. I have 2 camps in July, both about 30 people per session right now. We might go up to 35, but that's how many computers I have. So I'm going to have But
you have a hard limit with the number of computers.
Yeah, exactly. But the idea, so this is actually like an NSF funded project. I don't know how much you know about academia, but you know, NSF funds certain projects and you develop things like this whole new way of teaching code. But the idea is, you know, then you share it with the world and everybody can do it. So next summer, I'm going to be spending a lot of my time teaching the teachers. So like training teachers in Virginia, how to teach in this way, and training teachers in Delaware, where my collaborators are, how to like teach code in this way.
Have you gotten interest from other schools, like in other parts of the country, or is this mainly just happening like in your area right now?
Yeah, so right now it's mainly in my area. I have been in touch with Dallas because I visited there just last year, and of course Delaware, where my collaborators are. And you know, like if we had the bandwidth to teach there, I think they would definitely take it up.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think this would be an awesome program for any middle school, you know, around the country. And I, you know, and now that I see it and I, you know, I've met you and talked to you about it, I think, you know, I hope in the future that schools do something like this, right? Because, you know, this kind of reminds me of one of my friends who used to live in Southern California. She started a nonprofit group to teach girls coding, right?
Yeah.
And she first announced it or talked about it at my user group when I used to run it. And I asked her while our guest was speaking, I said, she's only targeting middle school kids, right? And I said, why are you just targeting middle school? Why aren't you targeting, you know, high school and things like that? She goes, well, we feel that if we can't get kids interested in technology in middle school, by the time they hit high school, it's over because of all the pressures and all the other stuff that happens in high schools. They got to get them in the middle school, right? And ever since she said that, it makes a lot of sense to me, is to try to get people involved, you know, at that, you know, age of their life. You know?
Yeah, that's exactly why we target. So, I mean, here's the story. I'm sure you know this about computer science, but I mean, the story of computer science, unfortunately, is that it's mainly like male and it's mainly white and Asian, right?
Right.
Unfortunately, like I want diversity because I think it makes the field a lot more fun.
Me
My
too.
advisor, you know, was a female, and that lab was really fun to work in. So, you know, diversity is really important to me, and so that's why we were trying to, you know, use hip hop to get people that weren't traditionally interested in coding into coding, and not just, of course, racially. Of course, I think, you know, not just white and Asian people will be interested in hip hop, but also like kind of artistically, right? Like, so traditionally people think coding is all about just like nerdy math people, but like musicians, it turns out, are secretly nerdy math people, you know? And
they are.
so we, like this whole stereotype of coding just being for like nerdy white guys, we want it to also be for artistic people. And that's at VCU, we're a big art school. There's a lot of good art and music. And so it's really natural for those type of people to be attracted to this type of programming.
Yeah. And in my experience in the programming world, and a lot of my friends that I've known for a long time, even since the 90s, you know, almost all of them have, you know, not only, we were talking about this before the show, not only the technical part of the analytical part of their brain, but they also have a big creative part of their brain, whether they're doing music or art or
Mhm.
something like that, where they're keeping that other half going too. And I think, I will say this until I'm gone, but I will say I think they make the best programmers because they have that creativity going on. Then because we dream up stuff from nothing, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to be creative. You have to be able to come up with that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean that for me, that's the big difference I'm in the engineering school, between engineers and computer scientists. Like if you want to just like make things work and you have no creativity in you, like that's an engineer.
Yeah.
But if you like art and you like writing and you love music or any of these things, it doesn't have to be all of these things, but you still like technical stuff and are into math and things like that, then computer science to me is a lot more fun of an option because you do get to create things, you get to imagine things. Yeah.
I do have one question. Question for you. Well, I have one question which you can't really answer because you've only been doing this for a few years, but I would like to follow up, maybe later after you've been doing this, to see where some of these kids have gone to after like middle school and what they're doing afterwards, right?
Yeah.
After going through this course and how that changed their perspective of what they want to do, in high school and maybe in their life, right?
Yeah, we're gonna definitely be tracking them. Like that's definitely part of the program that we're doing. Yeah. But I want to tell you one guy that was involved in this. Just to tell you one story about this guy. So there was a student. His name was Twan. He was a kind of a computer science student here at VCU. We have a very diverse student body here at VCU, and he's African American. Mm-hmm. And I would say he was kind of like he was an okay student, right? Mm-hmm. Like really smart guy, but he was an okay student. And he just happened to get hooked up with Code Beats, and that was his senior project. Mm-hmm. And he got hooked. And so he was like, he was like taking beats because he had a great ear. He'd listen to the beat, he'd code them. I mean, he coded probably like 10 or 15 songs. I can't remember how many he did in the end. But I mean, he was killing it, right? Mm-hmm. And he really got into it. And through being involved in Code Beats, I think he took his own interest in computer science from kind of like, it was like, okay, I'm doing this, to like, oh, this is pretty fun. And then he got deeper and deeper into it. Now he makes more money than I do working for Amazon. So,
yeah, I remember the first time one of my students came up to me and thanked me for the course I taught him, which really launched him into a new career, and then he's making more money than I do. And I go, dang it. That's not supposed to be like that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's the way it is. If you're teaching, you're not getting paid quite as much as
well,
the guys you're teaching.
That's why I don't teach anymore. So
yeah, exactly. You're the smart one. Maybe in a few years I'll go back and make some money.
So I have a question for you that I've been thinking about, and one of my musician friends who I jam with here in San Diego is watching, so he'll definitely understand where I'm coming with this question. But I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and so my question to you is, and especially after looking at what you're doing with Code Beats, do you think that in the future AI will basically replace musicians?
Oh, so this is a really interesting question. And super relevant to a guest we're going to have on. So I have a concert coming up in the fall for Code Beats. We're going to be taking some of the best beats from our students and translating them into a pep band arrangement. So the pep band's going to be playing them, like the band that's at the basketball game and stuff. We're going to have a lot of fun. But we're going to have a speaker, and he's a guy from Google. He is a JMU grad. And he's, a consultant by day, but he's also like a rapper and producer. And so this
is he the one on your website? One of the guys on your Code Beats website?
He is not yet, but hopefully in the future he will be. Yeah. So that, I think you're thinking about Do Me Right, he's the guy that you hear on that track that I shared earlier. Yeah. He's a great guy from DC. He's also in computers and consulting. This guy, I believe his name, if I'm getting it right, is Michael Jacob. Let me make sure. And He is from Google, and he went to Michael MJ Jacob. He's like a cloud engineer, but the thing about him is he's about to release a tool that uses AI to produce like a basic drum track, like you said, and a basic chord progression or a basic melody, like you said. In fact, like just yesterday, he tweeted something about this. So this is Michael MJ Jacob, a guy from Google. You can find him pretty easy online if you check it out. And yeah, so he's been working with like feeding in, beats and chord progressions from hip hop, and then using that to automatically train some kind of classifier that can then spit out and generate beats. He's also, like last year, released a album that was made kind of in this way, and now he's about to release the software that can generate these beats. So it's not there yet. Like, he sees it as a way to like generate a starting point, kind of like you were saying, put it into a DAW, a digital audio workstation, and then tweak it. But it's coming.
Yeah. I saw, I think it was on Twitter today or something. Some guy has been working for 2 years on something called Lemonade.
This is the guy.
Oh, so maybe I saw it on your site. Yeah. And that seems really impressive to me, that Lemonade, because it creates a melody out of AI for you, right?
Exactly. So this is MJX Music. I'm going to put in the comments here. Maybe I'll chat.
You can put it in the private. You can put it in private chat, and then Simon can post it out to everybody.
But he's posted a video right there on Twitter on something that he's releasing in just a few weeks, and I think that's super relevant. It's right here.
That's what I was looking at today.
Yeah.
That seems really, really cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think he's somebody we're going to feature. He's going to come and give us a talk about this software at our next event. But he's somebody that's really interesting in this space. I thought maybe I could just show one more code example, since, it is kind of a coding show.
Sure.
Just to give you a better idea of how this would work. Again, this one's more for the older folks like me that grew up in the 90s. This is Dr. Dre's Still Dre. If you've never, I understand you're into rock and roll more, right?
Yeah.
So there was this album back in the day, 2001, I think it was called, and it's by Dr. Dre. And there's a version of it that's instrumental, 2001 instrumental beats. And man, if you're into hip hop at all, you got to listen to this album. It just lays out there like 20 great hip hop tracks. If you're going to train an AI, you should train it on those. Okay. This is one of them. I'm going to play it real quick. One I'm sure you've heard.
Oh yeah, everybody's heard this song.
Yeah, played at every basketball game.
Yeah.
Whatever. And again, so this is activity 3. So we're getting a little bit more complicated here, but you can see we've started to do things like define variables, right? So we define variables, and this MIDI number corresponds to like A6, B6, C7, D7, E7, F#7. These are all keys on the keyboard, like the 6th octave up the A. And all you would do again is define a melody that lasts about 4 beats using these notes. So it would be as simple as, let's do one real quick. Play note. What do you think? A6?
A6.
You have any requests on what notes we play?
B. Well, I like B6, E7. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out. Some of my favorite chords.
All right, B6. You want to jump to an E?
Yeah.
And then back to the A, or you want what else?
Yeah, let's go back to the A. Yeah.
All right. So when we hear that, just as it is. All right, and then we got 4 rests. That's pretty good. And then you can hear your masterpiece.
Yeah. You can add it to Dr. Dre.
And I like...
That sounds awesome.
In just a few seconds, we've already created something that sounds pretty decent. And that's the thing.
Right.
We put these guardrails, right? So the kids, even if they know nothing about music, with just a few simple rules and things to follow, they can create pretty good sounding beats, you know?
Yeah, well, this is really awesome. I gotta start winding up here, but yeah, this is really impressive. And I've been, like I said at the top, I'm so glad I've been able to talk about music for an entire hour without somebody getting mad at me about it. And one thing that definitely, if I ever get back into your area, I would love to sit in on one of these classes or one of these camps. I would just love to see these kids actually doing it in real life. I think that'd be awesome.
Oh, and you'd love to hear what they come up with, like on the spot. You'd be amazed. Some of them are so good at music.
Yeah. This is awesome, and I wish Code Beats and everything you're doing with it. Everything you can get in the future to help bring more programming to kids when they're younger, because we really need that. If we're going to make computer programming technology better, in the future, we have to start with the kids in middle school or even earlier, right? Yeah. And I want more people in tech. I want more diversity in techs, like you said, and I think this is a great way to achieve that. And really get some people interested in a promising career if they want it. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, coders, even beginner coders, make good money these days, right?
Like I said, I have several students already making more money.
More than you do, and they're beginners, right?
Yeah.
And some of the crazy salaries you get at Facebook and stuff are just insane, right? But yeah, this is awesome, and you're more than welcome to come back on the show anytime you want if you want to talk about this or you have something new to talk about. And the other thing I was thinking about when you were talking was, so Mahesh is going to be on in a minute, and him and I were talking about. So I'm doing the Code Quality Conference in August again, which was the largest one-day conference ever on CSharpCorner. Last year we had like 65,000 people watch.
Whoa.
And so I know. So we're bringing it back this year, and one of the things that Mahesh has talked to me about is in which we have done it. Conferences on CSharpCorner before is like we have like a 10-minute break for people to do a potty break and stuff, and we like to do fun things in those 10 minutes. Like Mahesh has had a woman on teach you how to mix drinks. We've had music people on, but I think in August, if we could get some of your students to come on and show us their beats in these 10-minute slots, that would be really awesome. So
yeah, we could definitely hook that up.
Yeah, I'm going to get in touch with you before the conference and see if we can hook this up for some of the students there. I think it'd be awesome to show it. 65,000 people watching. Right?
Oh yeah, they'd be into it.
Yeah. Well, thanks, and you're welcome to hang out if you want to talk after the show. I know Mahesh probably wants to give an update to his COVID status, and so I got to let you go. But thanks so much for spending some of your day with us in the holiday weekend, and I hope you have a great holiday weekend and stay safe from fireworks and craziness like that.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Wow, I really like this episode. I like all my episodes, but if I can incorporate music into it, I'm in heaven. All right. So let's get back to the slides. So this will be the last time I'm showing this slide because guess what? Code Rush is now free for everybody. So you don't have to go to that URL if you don't want to. You just go to devexpress.com and download your free copy of Code Rush. Code Rush is the only refactoring tool I've ever used in Visual Studio. I love it. I use it every day I'm coding. I'm going to be using it today. And it not only does it make my code better, but it actually teaches me things too. So it's a great learning tool, especially you beginners out there. You need a tool like this to help you learn the best practices that us folks have been doing for a long time. So I hope you check it out. Also, don't forget to pick up a copy of my Coding Standards for Microsoft.net, Rockin Code Coding Standards for Microsoft.net. It's the only pure coding standards book out there. I'm always working on a new version, but I have no release date for that. So go pick this up. It'll help you be a better, your team be better at releasing quality code, which is what the conference in August is all about. Also, don't forget to help me help the kids in India. As you all know, I've been raising money for the Voice of Slum Orphanage in India, Delhi, India, that I visited back in 2019. I hope to go visit them again this year when I go to India, and they've been able to restart their vocational training because of my support. So I need more support. I haven't got any donations in months, so I hope you either donate to them or go to their website directly, or you can buy a copy of my code performance book, which 100% of the profit of that goes to the Voice of Slum. So with that, oh wait, Mahesh is here. Sorry, I forgot about Mahesh. Hey Mahesh,
David.
how you feeling?
I'm good.
Yeah,
Better.
you don't look sick to me. I think you've been faking it.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
I
exactly.
I think you just did that because you didn't want to hang out with me anymore. So
Correct. That was the reason. Exactly. No, I'm here at the top, rooftop of this place.
yeah,
Finally nice outside, sunny. It's too much sun, so that's why I have glasses on.
yeah, it's
All good. Yeah, it's been a great show. Great show. Love that. How this, coding and music going together. That was awesome.
yeah. Thank you.
So that'll be good. Yeah, if kids come on the conference, talk about show some of their work, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it'll be great. To promote music and coding in a fun way. In between the sessions, right?
Yeah, and we should talk to David. Maybe do a one-day conference at his university because looks like he's already has things going on there.
Yeah. We could do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have relatives back there, so I can hang out with them.
It's not far from me either, so
Yeah.
we should do that.
Yeah, I have an uncle who lives in Virginia, and I have one that lives in Maryland. Oh, he died. Sorry. My aunt lives in Maryland.
Yeah.
And you live there too. So yeah.
Yeah.
I
All right,
definitely want to come. I definitely want to come check out one of his classes or camps one day. I think that'd be fun. Yeah.
Let's do that. And then you want to talk about the San Diego announcement,
Well,
or you want to wait on
which
that?
one?
Well, we're gonna do something together.
Yeah. So
we can talk about the conference.
Yeah. Okay. So since you all probably know that Mahesh's son has got a scholarship to a university here in San Diego, the University of San Diego, and so Mahesh is going to be out here a lot. So we're planning to do a one-day in-person conference on, I think it's November 12th. We're spearheading. We're trying to get a date for that. So that'll be the first conference in San Diego in a long time dealing with .NET. And because we don't have code camps anymore, there no user groups are running anymore. And so I think this will be a great opportunity for everybody in Southern California to come down for, one fun day in San Diego and learn coding and have some fun. We're going to have my band, my friend who's watching right now, band play, either lunch or at one of the parties or something like that. So I talked to him about that the other day. And it's going to be fun, right?
Yeah, and I think all local US MVPs, CSharpCorner MVPs can come.
Yeah.
And we should do a MVP party night before or after. Maybe
Sure.
After is a better idea. We shouldn't do before.
Not before, yeah. You don't want to get the speakers drunk the day before the conference. Yeah.
Yeah, we should
that never works
MVPs.
out well.
Yeah. We can figure out a place where we're going to stay, and MVPs are allowed to come and just join the party, hang out, especially if you are in a US, US ones, they can come. Maybe we'll announce that. Yeah, so that's good. That'll be good.
Yeah. And the other thing we're trying to start is a CSharpCorner chapter here. And so if anybody's listening in the local area and they know of a space that can hold about 100 people on a monthly basis, regularly on a monthly basis, please reach out to me ASAP, because we kind of wanted to start this in August. I don't think that's going to happen now, but we want to start one as soon as possible, right, Mahesh?
Yep.
Yeah. So Mahesh and I and two of my friends, one's watching right now, my musician friend, we all met Monday down in La Jolla and with Mahesh and his family, and we all talked about doing all this stuff. So we're working on it, right?
Yep, work in progress.
Work in progress. But we really need to bring some of this back to San Diego, some of this community. We don't have community much in San Diego anymore as far as our world is concerned.
So here's a good part. There's one kid, he was helping us in India and Nepal. He's moving to LA for a college, his master's, I think, or Ph.D. So he's going to be local in LA area. He's going to help you out with that as well.
Okay.
So,
great.
and he can travel. He's young, he's a student. So
yeah,
he's going to be outside of LA. And I know it's hour and something from train ride from there to where you live. It's not far.
Yeah.
So
and
we'll have more hands.
Yeah, when I met Mahesh this past weekend, and Mahesh's son brought his friend over, and
From India.
From India.
He's in high school.
He's in high school, and the guy is 7 foot 1 inch tall. And when I stood next to him at Tio Leo's when we were having dinner there on Sunday, it was the first time I felt kind of like when Mahesh stands next to me, right?
Yes.
I was looking up going, dang.
Yes.
His hands are huge.
Yeah, he's like, I think 270 pounds, 7'1", and he's 19 years old.
19 years old, 7'1". Yeah.
Yeah.
He does not look 19. He looks much older.
Yeah, but do you know the great Kali? He is from India. He's one of the biggest, tallest athlete in WWE, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, his name is Great Kali. He's also from where this kid is from, Punjab. Yeah, he's like huge.
There's something in the water there, I guess, or something.
Yeah.
You're not going to find anybody in Delhi that's 7'1".
There are just not too many.
Because the pollution is so bad there.
But not in the tech, because you only hang out with people who are in programming and tech.
Oh yeah.
But if you go in like sports and all that, you will find.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better. How's the family doing?
Everybody's good.
Yeah, that's good. No one got sick.
Everybody's good. Nope.
Good.
So
I'm
that's
glad.
a good thing.
And you're all flying back on Monday, right?
That's the plan so far.
When are you going to be coming back? Do you know?
August probably.
August. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Not too far.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks for dropping in on us. I'm glad you're doing better. I felt bad for you all week because you come to San Diego and had to spend most of it in a hotel room. So
it's all right.
Yeah, it could be worse places to be stuck in a hotel room, right?
Yes. Yes. I had a friend, he went to Dubai and he was there for 10 days, got stuck there.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't want to be stuck in Dubai for 10 days. All right. Well, thanks. And I'll talk to you after the show if you're hanging out.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay, great.
Thank you all.
So, my next show, Mahesh will be happy with this because I know Mahesh is looking into this framework. I'm going to have the creator of Octane, Sean Walker, on next week. I'm really excited about that because I've looked at Octane, and you guys know how picky I am with code quality and architecture and things like that. And I have to say the way that Sean has created Octane is pretty impressive. And so I can't wait to have him on next week. If you haven't heard of Octane, Octane is basically the Blazor version of .NET Nuke, if you remember .NET Nuke. So it's based off of .NET Nuke, but it's all written in Blazor. And it's a great way to get a website, more of a CMS type website, up and running like very, very fast, all using Blazor, multi-platforms and everything. So you should check it out. But come back next week and learn all about Octane when I have Sean on. It's going to be fun. Please be safe. As I just was talking to Mahesh, COVID's not over. So it's still here. It's actually, Mahesh tweeted out an article this morning about how it's becoming, more people are getting it in California for some reason. So please be safe. Please listen to your medical professionals. In the meantime, please go donate blood. All blood banks are in a shortage and they need your blood, not only because of COVID, but just for everything else. So please do that. And with that, thanks so much for joining today. I've had a great time talking about music and code with David Shepard. And if you have any requests, who you want me to be on this, who you want me to get on the show, whatever you want, please email me at rockandcodeworld@csharpcorner.com, and I'll see you next week.